Hey, Merry Christmas. My gift to my new and old subscribers, I guess it's the new ones. I was looking around and listening to these Terrence McKenna lectures, and A negative had told me about, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And someone had mentioned this woman on Reddit, Morgan Webb, and I used to have her screenshot on my computer. And I looked at her and I'm like, yeah, she's probably an O negative. Okay, so this is her, right? And that jawline, and yeah, that's pictures of Morgan Webb. I've just noticed in a lot of the O negative women, um, you know, most of the O negatives seem to have blue or green eyes I've met, but she has, you know, brown eyes. It looks like they might be hazel. They look like they're brown though. Oh, and I forgot. So I clicked on this. I was listening to a lot of Terrence McKenna, and I was really blown away. And that was the motivation for this video because it's all relating the amount of powerful revelations that have been happening. I don't even have words for. It just keeps going up. But this is a picture of Morgan, and her eyes do look more brown, don't they? But see how she's got one of these ears? And she looks elven, doesn't she? I said a couple years ago, I think the elves and the arch negatives are the same thing. In the Lord of the Rings, I'd speculated that that's what the arch negatives are. Okay? So yeah, isn't that interesting? I didn't even seek this out. It was on Reddit, Morgan Webb, and I was like, huh. And I looked at some Google images, because now when I look at stuff, after a few years of finding about the arch negative blood and the tendencies with each of the different arch negative blood types for these traits to manifest themselves physically, I saw her face and just clicked some photos, and this was one of them. So I didn't seek this out, okay? And it relates to what I made this video for, is Terrence McKenna was talking about dreams, angels, aliens, and entities. And another thing, he said the same thing as me. It says, we know them, they are us. It's us. That's what I believe, and I'm one of the only people who has legitimate proof of this kind of thing happening and isn't, bat crazy. It's like, just sounds, who cares? But I try not to be profane. If there are no elves, then why is the word elf in self and elves in selves? The etymology of the word elf comes from the Indo-Euro word white. The pointed ears are in reference to an evolved being advanced in life's journey of evolution like Mr. Spock in Star Trek, whose hearing is highly advanced over all the other senses. Faith comes from hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Elves are the eschaton of human life. Okay, and I thought that's a comment under this Terrence McKenna, dreams, aliens, angels, and entities. And I was really blown away by this Terrence McKenna. Again, hat tip to the A negative who recommended I check him out. It's really interesting, as I haven't even shown the part yet that's just kind of crazy. Since it's Christmas, I want to try to do a kind of a special video for the new subs and for the old ones too. And I'll get to that in just a second. But so I was talking about morphic resonance, and I didn't know the one who coined that was Rupert Sheldrake. And I was listening to a audio with Rupert Sheldrake, Terrence McKenna, and some other guy, Ralph something. And then I look up, what I always do, okay, is I look up people that I listen to. I always look them up. I look up their faces. I look up their birth dates, because I'm always looking for patterns in the code of this reality. And I look up Rupert Sheldrake, and he was born June 28th, 1942. He's 76 years old, British, and he's still with us. Terrence McKenna no longer is. But he was the guy I was talking about in the most recent video I did about morphic resonance. It's like a memory, like within a species that the species can tap into, okay? And it's just interesting because I'm referencing what his theory of morphic resonance, and then I probably listened to a half dozen Terrence McKenna videos, right? And listening to these videos, I was like, this guy's brilliant. And as I'm wont to do now, I look him up, and I'm like, I wonder what this guy looks like, Terrence McKenna, right? So I look him up, and he looks exactly like Anthony Cumia, a guy who I believe is an A negative. Why does this matter? Because there's these patterns, man, in physical expression with the certain blood types. And I used to listen, I don't pay attention to him anymore because, I don't know. I used to be really into Opie and Anthony Cumia, I believe, a lot of where I got the crow medicine mimicry theory from, I have, that might be a specific, each type might have specific things, and they might not, it's just a theory. But was from Anthony Cumia, he can imitate anybody, like Howard Stern, Jesse Ventura. He does amazing impressions. And he's got the eyes like me, and when he was young, he had his hair was kind of gold like mine was and curly like mine was. Okay. So then I look at these Terrence McKenna pictures, and it looks exactly like Anthony. Like the same kind of hair, the same kind of eyes, the same kind of face. I had no idea. Okay, I'd never heard of, this is Terrence McKenna, okay? I'd never heard of Terrence McKenna. I mean, not heard of him. I've never seen his face. I just heard him, okay? And he has a pleasant enough voice. But if you know, like, I'm going to show you pictures just to show this, okay? So what's the correlation here? Well, Anthony Cumia, he was a huge radio guy. I believe is an A negative. Extraordinarily funny. You know, I'm not vouching for him. I don't vouch for anybody these days, but just extraordinarily a really good entertainer. And a lot of these people that arch negatives can tap into stuff that allows them to be amazing athletes, entertainers, musicians. Okay, so that's Terrence McKenna. And when I saw this face, I was like, that's Anthony. Like, that's how, and I'd never seen Terrence's face before. This is the best picture. That's Anthony right there, okay? And here's another Terrence McKenna. And then Terrence McKenna, the same hair, you know, he has glasses here. And Terrence McKenna. See, the thing is, a lot of you don't have my memories. You don't have pictures in your mind that I do of Anthony Cumia. When I looked him up, or when I saw him on events or watched him doing podcasts. But he literally looks more like Anthony does than Anthony's own brother does. Like, it's uncanny how similar they look. Okay, that's Terrence McKenna. And then here's Anthony Cumia. I couldn't find the best pictures of the Anthony to kind of show this, okay? But it's uncanny how similar they look. And I believe they're both A negatives. Okay? And so Terrence McKenna, I've just been blown away by a lot of stuff. I agree with a lot of what he says. Some of the things I don't agree with. Same with just about anyone else, because we're living in a later age than these men were. And we've had the opportunity to have more revelation. And what I do is I don't just go all, to use my foundation, but I don't just go all New Age, all Christian, all anything. And almost everyone else does. You have to, I'm more just fluid, man. And people don't understand that, and it ends up being off-putting to most people. Whatever. I rebuke in Jesus' name when necessary. I know there's a spiritual realm, and but a lot of what this guy talks about, I have an intimate understanding of also. It's like, man, and there's a certain kinship with the arch negatives, okay, that does exist. The potential for it. A lot of times you're going to be butting heads with other arch negatives, so it's not a guarantee, okay? But listening to this man speak and the insight, I'm like, man, he's on a lot of good stuff here, okay? And he was talking about when aliens come and this and that, and it's like, well, I have been. He's no longer with us, but I am here. And I've had the interactions with them, the aliens. I only remember like 20 minutes, but with him talking about the DMT elves and all these things, and it's like, did I tap into the same thing? Because I didn't even listen to McKenna's lectures, and I'm listening to these lectures, and there's a familiarity to a lot of what he's talking about, and yeah, it's and what I'm going to show is this, because it's Christmas, and I'm not going to upload the video. It's only a minute and a half, but this is just visual proof. When you see this thing in the camera frame, this tentacle, I didn't see it. What I saw was ancient writing, runic writing all around me, and foot tall, like a dozen foot tall beings all around me with like mischievous smiles looking up at me. And this is 1 minute and a half out of a 5-hour experience, of which I remember about 20 minutes. And Terrence McKenna and Duncan Trussell talked about how when you have these DMT experiences, you can't bring it back with you. And, when you trip on that stuff, I've done other psychedelics when I was younger, and they were a really good tool for growth and refinement. They're not for everybody, people lose their mind sometimes, people that are not equipped. They might have signed up for the one and done reality here, a more simplified version, and they're not ready to know and to understand things like that. That's okay. We're on a different journey. But since I can only remember, it's been 5 years since this happened, and I only remember less than 20 minutes of it, but I remember, and McKenna sparked this memory. I remember when at the moment of this, let me just go do this real quick, then I'll show you. I just want you to see visual proof so you know that there's visual proof of alien contact. I didn't see this tentacle, but when it was on the screen, I was seeing what people see during a DMT or ayahuasca experience, or maybe a heroic shroom trip, okay? Which I don't recommend. But I wasn't on psychedelics. I was stone cold sober, and I was seeing all the things that they're describing. And the catalyst for it was the movement of this tentacle. And you'll see it in a second, okay? As far as I know, I've not met anyone else who has any proof like this. I don't know why. So, let me just show you this really quickly, okay? So, Merry Christmas. All right, check this out. The tentacle at 2 different times during the scene, was visible, and I don't have time to flesh out the entire context about this, okay? This was contact that happened in 2013 when the veil was lifted for me. And I started recording with the camera because strange stuff was happening. I thought it was poltergeist or ghost. I had no context for any of this. I got saved for protection around this time because other stuff that happened in the material. But I don't have proof for all of it. So I do have proof for this though. Okay. So this is my natural DMT experience without taking DMT. All it took was this. So check it out, okay? Listen to what I'm saying too, and I'll say it afterward. It's a 10-second clip out of the 1.5-minute video. I'm just showing you the money shot, okay? And I'm not showing you the other part of the video where the other tentacle was in there too, because there were 2 different tentacles. I'm showing you the one that was thicker and on the screen for longer and moving under its own intelligence, okay? It'll be in the bottom left, down here.
You see that?
Right there. That's the tentacle. Okay, listen. When I'm saying look like that in the camera, that looks crazy. And if you notice, the camera's pointed down. But to me, I was looking into the camera just like this. And on the camera screen was all this ancient language. All around, everywhere. That's why I was like, well, you see that in the camera? That looks crazy. And I sound drugged. During this contact experience, I compared it to when humans rescue like birds with broken wings and they have to drug them and put them in cages to heal kind of thing. They put some sort of calm thing on me. So I didn't flee my apartment because it was quite frightening in the beginning. It was scary at first. And then, but I wasn't on alcohol. I wasn't on marijuana. I wasn't even doing anything because I wanted to be lucid and stone cold because all this supernatural stuff was happening and I didn't want to be under influence of anything because I wanted to have my wits about me completely for what was going on. Because it was really, I was alone and it was very frightening actually. It was frightening up to this point, but the contact was really a pleasant experience. I remember once I left the bathroom and I was interacting with them in the kitchen, they weren't really responding to me. And Duncan Trussell talked about how they're kind of feral. I think they're like the workers of the system, or they're on a different level of the matrix reality we live in. Okay, they're on a different level. And I kept interacting with them, like, what are you doing here? What do you want? You know, from what I can remember. and the one of them would just look at me every time, but it wouldn't say anything. But they didn't talk with this, no tongue, no words. It was all up here. But they were in the kitchen and they were dancing like a rhythm, dude. They were all dancing. I remember that at varying points. They were all dancing, like dancing around the stove, like dancing. A dozen of them at least, all over the place. There's like dozens of these little things. And again, I first saw them when the tentacle's on screen. After I'm like, oh, you see that on the camera? Dude, from my memory, I didn't remember pointing the camera down. I mean, the whole thing, there's so much to this, and I'm not doing an expose on this right now because it would take an hour to explain it all. I want to keep this brief. But I didn't see the tentacle, and it felt like it was us. This is what it felt like. It felt like it was me. So let me just show you real quick to end this. All right, and I'm going to patch in a part 2, a slow burn, talking a little bit more about this kind of subject matter, okay? See how the camera's pointed at the ground? And it's right there. And I didn't say, do you see that? Jesus, dude, that's some crazy shit. Because, and I didn't see that though. But what I was seeing was like absolutely parallels every description I've had of a DMT experience. And I've done psychedelics, but I've not done DMT or ayahuasca, and I don't plan on it. I don't feel a need to. But isn't that pretty interesting that that's... And why me? I speculate this may have happened to others of you who are kind of changed a little bit too, but you don't remember it. And people are going to come at you with fear. Oh, and also at sunrise, I saw what can only be described as an angelic being, must have been 30, 40, 50 feet in the sky. Huge. And I didn't feel afraid anymore. I finally fled my apartment. I didn't want to talk too much about the contact thing. All I was doing was to show you that. Is the proof. And the only reason I'm showing you the proof is so you know that Terrence Mckenna, I believe, is onto stuff, and he looks like an A negative. If not an A negative, RH negative. He's got the big hazel eyes, dude. Just like Anthony, just like me. Okay? Not a lot of the A negatives require glasses. If I didn't say so already, I'd say I've met about 2 or 3 dozen A negatives, interacted with, and 70% of them have the eyes exactly like me. And the remainder, most of them, is like green eyes, and then a very, very small minority, just like 2 or 3 have had blue eyes. So, and most of us don't require glasses until, it doesn't seem to be a requirement until we become later into adulthood. But I noticed O negatives tend to require glasses at a younger age, but that's also anecdotal. All of this is anecdotal. Okay, so that's it. That's my Christmas gift to you. It's all starting to make sense. And big hat tip to the A negative who recommended Terrence Mckenna. Good work. I appreciate it. Something about the crows, right? And the crow medicine. We don't have time to get into that either. If you want to check out crow medicine, ravens and crows have similar medicine and shapeshifters. It's the same name as all the vegetarian burgers, Morningstar. Morningstar Firms, though, not Morningstar Farms. That is the web page that has the crow medicine stuff. I don't have time to get into it right now, and I want to do a short type video, keep it under 40 minutes. So that's it. That's your RH negative, contact, DMT, and the second half of this video we'll talk about it a little bit more, okay? So that's it. God bless. Things are, wow, just, I don't even know to put into words all the stuff that's happening that I'm experiencing right now. Okay? Alright. Hey, what's going on? I wanted to make a short video, so I was more kind of hung up on duality, which does exist. That's undoubtable. and in the beginning, I remember it's funny how your opinions change over time, and it's always in flux. You got to be flexible, and what you think and believe today might not be what you believe tomorrow necessarily, right? And certain things, some things are pretty fixed, but um, so what was got me onto this was due to my life path. I experimented with psilocybin when I was younger, and it was really helpful. Um, I don't even know where I got the idea. I would call it soft resets, and then I was listening to Terrence McKenna, and he was talking about their resets, um, and their tools. Man, that's really what they are. I mean, when you think about it, doesn't anyone bat an eyebrow when the people that run this world, who have pretty much enslaved and subjugated all the humans, all the animals, and they don't care what color your skin is. They use that to put us against each other. All of us have to get past it, man. And I could go in some stories about it and growing up and where I encountered it, which doesn't make sense because you know, but it's just, to me, it just seems like a waste of time, the whole topic is. And it's foisted upon us by the ruling elite to turn us against one another. It's so we have to transcend that. It's not even a matter of transcending. It's like, come on, dude, give me a break. So, I mean, the Yahoo news stories. It is unbelievable, the stories that are on there every day. I mean, it's comical. It is joke level reality that these are, and the people buy it. Oh. So anyway, this whole thing with so as I was talking about the third eye, the pineal gland. I have a brother, and he was strongly urging, a lot of caution with it, and I wasn't really listening to him about it because I had a lot of different people that were like all this fear stuff with the third eye, and it was before I could see better like I can now. And anyway, the third eye is what releases the DMT, and we all have a different endogenous DMT drip. Okay, and DMT is found in all of nature and all that kind of stuff, right? Sleeping at the time of death, and when you take psychedelics, it's released in an amount that causes a psychedelic experience, kind of thing, right? Dreams. And so I was listening to this video because I've started listening to Joe Rogan again because I'd stopped listening to him. I was like so straight edge, and like I'm gonna be Jesus guy, and anything that's not lose when you think about it. Anyway, he was talking to Tommy Chong, and Tommy Chong is an Asian American, I think, because of the name, right? And he did movies where he was smoking marijuana with Cheech Marin, and those movies are so funny. I loved them back in the day. Man, funny stuff. And so Chong got busted for selling bongs, and the whole thing was a work by attorney John Ashcroft guy, who was going after violent video games too. All this strawman things. Is that what it is? I don't even know. One of these days I'll look up strawman. And what happened is, Tommy Chong was made an example of. And he was in this, I gotta take whoops, I gotta remember that. He was in this interview, and Joe Rogan was there. It was from a few years ago. Like this open forum kind of discussion thing. And they were talking about marijuana and edibles, and anytime that comes up, Joe Rogan drops the 11-hydroxymetabolite. Dude, there are some funny people on the Joe Rogan videos. All the comments are, Joe, I used to play Quake Rogan. Joe, it's 11-hydroxymetabolite Rogan. His full name's James Joseph Rogan, just so you know, because we're in a matrix. I believe. Entertainment purposes only, right? Oh man. Anyway, so James Joseph Rogan was always one of my role models. I really liked him a lot, and I still do now. Anyway, the comments on his videos are hilarious, but he was talking about how he'll take edibles and he'll close his eyes, and behind his eyelids he'll see like cartoons having sex and stuff. And my closed eye, I just call them closed eye visions. And these happen, dude. I almost, they don't usually happen too much during the day. It's almost always at night. And I was telling somebody, and they're like, yeah, it's because you're falling asleep. It's like, no, I'll lay in bed for an hour, just kind of drifting, you know? It's good to do that sometimes, to just no music, no stimuli, just lay there with your eyes shut before you go to sleep. It's like you time, you know? And just drift. And around 2013 or so, right when everything else started happening, when I closed my eyes, I'd see all this stuff. It's incredibly detailed now, and at times there's colors, because before it was more grayscale. We the Seekers also mentioned this, and it happened to him sober too, you know? But I heard Terrence McKenna and Joe Rogan both talk about, Terrence McKenna was talking about with psilocybin, and Joe Rogan was talking about with marijuana edibles, which are much more psychoactive, 4 times as much, right? How Joe Rogan said I'd see cartoons like having sex with my eyes shut, and I would see that a lot, stuff just like that, dude. A lot, man. Other times, as I said, I'd see knights fighting dragons, soldiers in formation, what looked like the tail of a comet, going through like a vortex thing, looked like hyperspace in Star Wars. And this isn't up here, you know? Like I imagine a beautiful woman, and I can see her in my mind's eye right now. But it's not like that. It's like you close your eyes. Almost nobody ever seems to have this happen. I don't get many comments and people that are saying, yeah, I have these closed eye things too. Without, I would say, well, not even that. I mean, I would say it would probably happen more with people who are on psychedelics, but what I find really interesting about this, why I wanted to share it was, so the contact experience I happened, I didn't feel like I was tripping, but there was some sort of life form there, which provoked a stimuli for the endogenous DMT dump for me, where I was able to see a lot of stuff, DMT gnomes or elves they're called, you know, and the ancient, as Duncan said, runic writing. So that's one part of this whole thing, a psychedelic experience, yet I'm not taking psychedelics, right? And it might go back to the whole born shaman archetype. And I haven't done a video about that in a while. Just an archetype. You know, it's not the devil. Anyway, it's an archetype. And yeah, I will do a video about it. I don't know if I'll include it in this one, though. But there's this whole list of traits with born shamans. They'll have like different things wrong with them. They might have been struck by lightning or electrocuted. Not shocked badly. That has happened to me, actually. It's happened to probably a lot of you, you know, who are really awake. But so these closed eye visions, so I heard Rogan say that. And this is what I'm talking about. You just live your life and you don't overthink it. And you'll come across information, and I mean, a lot of it may not even end up serving you or your purpose. But you're not going to be able to be a control freak and determine ahead of time without hindsight what that information is. So that all you can do is just kind of live your life and don't even really think about it. And that's what I feel like works the best. It's been probably 18 months since I've checked out any real YouTube truth videos. At least that long. I mean, I've listened to Terrence McKenna lectures, I've listened to Alan Watts lectures, on and off. I didn't listen to McKenna until the last week, really, firsthand, but I heard Rogan talk about him a lot, and Duncan Trussell talk about him a lot. And the whole point is, though, is that there's a whole industry, and people make a good living. They always got t-shirts and coffee mugs, like Nibber or Watcher, Jeff P. I sound like a robot, but then Joseph makes videos kind of laughing about that, and now my voice changed. But, but that's not happening. Because we live in a much smaller simulation world than I think we realize. Hold on. Anyway, this might just be the first part of the video. I'll just do the Born Shaman stuff. Someone throw it on here, I guess. Maybe. Maybe not. But anyway. I don't believe it's just affecting me. I know We the Seekers, who's not even arch negative. I think he's a hybrid, though. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people who watch these videos, like, it could be different, for you. But if you've ever done psychedelics, you know what it's like, right? And I'm not telling anyone to do psychedelics either. I have to be so careful with this. I mean, when I did them, I'm so damn sensitive. I remember, can I say? People would take large doses of shrooms, and I would be able to take more than like 1.5 grams without tripping balls. And other people could take 1/8 and barely be affected. And I'd be just kind of like zonked out, man. Not even communicating with people. Like in my own world for like an hour or two. And people are like, he's wigging out. And that's what you want to hear. People saying dumb stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, I'm within, But so the point is, I believe that what this means is that a lot of us have our third eye. Jaya kind of talked about it, and she said it had something to do with being how, like, I can see auras, many of you can see auras really easily, has something to do with the third eye and your endogenous DMT drip. And if it's something that's naturally happening, I don't see any reason to be afraid of that, okay? I'm not telling anyone to take ayahuasca, which is a super potent psychedelic. For me, my experience psilocybin, that works good enough. And easier to titrate the dose and microdose, which has shown effectiveness in treating PTSD actually too. So, that's, of course, naturally grown mushrooms illegal though, right? They don't want people thinking. They don't want them having insight or ego. Ugh, it's so disgusting. So, to wrap this little thing up is, it's significant to me that something happened. If the dreamscape is blending with the reality of the real world, which the Hopi Red and Blue Kachina talks about, in the dreamscape you're operating with more DMT in your body because your body releases it during sleep from the third eye pineal gland, right? So what does it mean if people like me and whoever the hell else are having closed eye visions, seeing all this stuff with their eyes shut? And that's it though, because the only other time I was seeing anything else was during the contact. Of course I can see auras and I intuit and have synchronicity and feel other people's feelings and emotions and thoughts. They're going to say something and I know what they're going to say. But it doesn't happen like reliably, like all the time, you know what I mean? It's hit or miss. Just like the manifesting thing. And I think the Laverne and Shirley thing was just intuition. But I think it was just out in the ether, out in the world, and I just picked up on it because she had died the day before. So it's not like I manifested that. So I just made that spur of the moment video though. But I always like to tie up any loose ends, So yeah, what does it mean now if I'm doing it, other people have to too, that we're having something going on with the DMT. Our endogenous DMT has been increasing. So we're having stuff happening during the waking life that should only happen while you're tripping or sleeping, or when you die. The psychedelic, the DMT kind of thing. Is that interesting? So I got that from Joe Rogan to recap the 11-hydroxy metabolite, and he talked about seeing cartoons, and I see that a lot. It's like a lot of people, and I'm like, I would rebuke in Jesus' name, and it never affects these closed eye vision things, man. Never does. And it brings me back to the crows when I thought the crows were the devil, and I kept rebuking in Jesus' name, and it only worked one time out of like 100, which means it didn't work. That was just coincidence. They're messengers, of course. And it's interesting, the crow medicine website, though, that I was using is like Morningstar Farms. And it got me thinking about all the veggie burgers. Aren't they like Morningstar Farms? I have a tinfoil hat thing with the whole vegetarian thing. Really, in this world, dude, we have to eat life to sustain life. No matter what it is, we have to eat something that was at one point alive, for the most part, to survive. Whether it be a plant that doesn't have a nervous system and a voice box to yell out in pain, or an animal that we more closely empathize with for obvious reasons, right? So no matter what, to sustain life in this world, you have to consume life. Pretty much. I mean, it's pretty much no way around that. But yeah, and see, that's too truthful. Forget about the whole vegetarian tinfoil thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's cool, And it really is so masterfully done, because I even tried it, and I felt famished and weak for 2 months. But who, especially arch negatives, they're going to buy into that because they don't want to hurt anything. And the factory farm system is cruel and evil. I say if you eat an animal that spent its whole life in a cage, what do you think that does for you energetically? What do you think the karmic cost is of you're kind of supporting that industry? I mean, so you have to be careful where you source the food. You have to do all these things. And you can't just say, oh, it's too much work, or, because if by virtue of your actions you allow unnecessary suffering, I think it should just be able to hunt your own food, and that'd be the best way. Animal lives its whole life outside. If you're a skilled hunter, you kill it pretty quickly. And we all die, and we all suffer when we die. So, there's a spiritual thing with hunting. I haven't done it yet, but I'd like to someday. And I've just seen people that attack hunters. Oops, cut that off. I've seen people who attack hunters, and they're, eating meat from the grocery store. And it's like, dude, you're eating an animal that lived its life in a cage and never even felt soil or grass under its, cloven hooves or whatever. Anyway, that's it. So, the Blue Kachina stuff talks about the dreamscape changing during this time. The Blue Kachina is the Hopi Indian version of the end times. And it could be more deception. I mean, even everything historically, anything could be made up before. You know what I'm saying? I was being ridiculous saying, is Russia real, is China real, just to prove a point. But is North Korea a soundstage? Who knows? You have to be really careful what you believe, And I think there's too much truth. I talk about truth, but no truth that'll challenge the narrative, or I'm not going to be able to do truth videos, really. So, just truth that serve people. Yeah, and isn't just going to burden you. Does that make more sense? Okay, yeah, so that's it. My travels, I learned that from Joe Rogan, and it's interesting because I never hear anyone talking about these closed eye vision things. And it happens every damn night. And on the telephone, yeah, it happens every night. And it's like a movie screen behind the eyes. And I don't seem to have any control over it. So, alright, that's it. God bless.